Who taught you that?
No one.
What's up, Gator Nation? Welcome into the latest Gators Online show. Zach Albaverdi and Nick Del Torre coming to you from Gainesville, Florida, where the Gators just signed their 2023 class on National Signing Day, late signing day, February signing day, whatever you want to call it. The Gators put the finishing touches on this cycle, although they could still add some pieces in the spring from the portal, which we will get into on today's show. We got basketball to get into. We've got an interview with Austin Barber. And obviously, Nick's been out there at Conjuring Ballpark watching this baseball team as they get ready for their season. So busy time in Gainesville, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, big win last night on the hardwood. This signing day used to be like a national holiday for me, and now it's just another day.
Yeah, it's basically now transfer signing day. Even though all the transfers from around the country, not just at Florida, they all get announced as they commit. But signing day is like the first day where the coach gets a chance to talk about all of them. So it's basically become that day. And it's become, I don't want to say leftovers because Caden Jones is certainly not a leftover. All-American commit, four-star offensive tackle that the Gators added. But it is basically the late signing day. It's not, that period in December is not the early period. It is signing day. So
I wonder what percentage. I wonder what percentage of recruits committed on early signing day. Probably high. Yeah.
And signed, I mean, it was across the country and certainly at the Power 5 schools and SEC programs, like you have to. If you want one of those spots, you better claim it and take it. Otherwise, they're going to move on. They're not going to sit around and wait until February to sign some of their targets unless it is just an elite guy. So I think the Gators got some elite guys certainly in this class. 31 total additions when you factor in the 20 players from the high school ranks, the 10 players from the transfer portal, and then gray shirt enrollee Tony Livingston. And you had 35 roster departures, and you brought in 31 guys. So 35 out, 31 in. Many of those 35 did not play.
Right.
So if you look at it from that standpoint, which is really what this is, it is recruiting and roster building and replacing numbers and trying to keep them at a competitive point and having enough depth and proven depth. And I think that's certainly a highlight of this class. Now, Billy Napier spent about what felt like 15 minutes talking about one guy that the Gators didn't sign, or actually they did, and he's no longer signed, and that was Jaden Rashada. But certainly that's overshadowed what his, I think, really top to bottom been a solid first full cycle for Napier and his staff.
Yeah, peppered probably the word to use for what happened on Wednesday. I think it has overshadowed just because it became so big. It became a national story. It was your quarterback in the class. Now you're going to have to try to get another quarterback after spring in the second portal period. So it is overshadowing a little bit, but I do like the class. I think you like the class. They did a really good job in the trenches. And I think at skill positions, you got so many defensive backs, need another safety probably. And then he said, Billy Napier said, Andy Jean up to 200 pounds, ran 22.5 miles an hour.
And that's not the fastest he can run.
Wild.
Yeah. He's, when you're asking about freshmen that could make an instant impact, I put him in that category. I think obviously Eugene Wilson is the most popular pick because he's a 5-star and certainly a really talented guy that's going to fit right in there in that slot. I think Ricky Pearsall coming back, maybe his need, Wilson that isn't as pressing, but I don't think there's any way that guy doesn't see the field. But the majority of this class is here mid-year. I think he said 27 new scholarship players was the number that they added in January. So that's a lot. I mean, that is you talk about your 85. I mean, that's almost a quarter of that, over that. So really, I think that was important just because of all the attrition that they had at the end of the season. You didn't want to lose that amount of players, 23 total, to the portal specifically, and then have all spring where you just don't have the depth to practice. So it was critical that they got in those transfers that they did during these last however many weeks since the early or first signing period. And I think from that standpoint, to get double-digit transfers, to get guys from quality programs, and also to get some guys that were starters. I mean, it's not like they just went and got a bunch of backups and guys that were looking for better opportunities. Like, no, they got some legit players that are just probably wanting to raise their level of competition and step into the SEC like Osiris Torrance. So Mazuka certainly falls into that category. And, you know, obviously classes are ranked based on the high school recruits that you sign, but you know, we have a separate ranking system at On3 for the transfer portal for guys in and guys out. But I think you definitely got to look at the totality of it. I think there's a lot to like just strictly about the high school signees, but I think it was critical that they got double-digit transfers to offset how many players that they lost.
Well, I mean, the offensive line was decimated. You lose really 4 starters, 3 if you want to, you know, argue about Tarquin. And I said it was going to be hard to get a running back out of the portal just because of what you were returning. And I think they got a good one in Cam Carroll. I mean, I think he's your third back, but he's fast, a little different change of pace from what you have. And huge, because going into a season with 3 running backs, a high ankle sprain, and now you're in a terrible spot. So getting him in late, that was huge for Florida. I think people are already down on Graham Mertz. Just wait and see. Billy said 24, that they evaluated 24 quarterbacks, loved Graham. I think at this point you just have to say, trust the coach who gets paid a lot of money to evaluate.
And coach quarterbacks, by the way.
And, like quarterbacks.
He's just the head coach. I thought one way that was interesting to look at it, and I did this in my mailbag this week, was how they replaced departures and key starters with portal players. And I think from that standpoint, it's an interesting way to look at it. And that's not to say that one is better or worse, but I think you're trying to go for something in the same ballpark, and hopefully that you maybe upgrade in some spots or you gain something where you lacked with the player that left. So case in point, you lost Anthony Richardson, your first-year starting quarterback, and you replace him with a 3-year starter. I don't think anybody would say that Graham Mertz is a better prospect than Anthony Richardson, but you get one thing from Graham that you didn't have from Anthony, and that's a 3-year starter. So you're adding that experience to the room, and the guy that was right there at that quarterback spot, Jack Miller, just made his first career start. So I think it was critical from that standpoint, because Anthony was on his way out, that you added somebody that had that level of experience and had been a starter, a multi-year starter. You lose 2 running backs, upperclassmen running backs, to the transfer portal, and then you go land a graduate transfer running back. You lose, as Nick mentioned, 4 offensive linemen and 4 starters, and you land a trio of offensive linemen that are all probably going to end up starting. And probably would have landed – you probably would have replaced all 4 numbers that you lost if you'd gotten John Campbell, who ended up going to Tennessee over. So, and I would imagine that was their plan. You lose 2 defensive linemen in Jervon Dexter and Jalen Lee. You sign 2 defensive linemen out of the portal. You lose 3 linebackers, including your 2 senior captains, and then you go out and sign 3 inside backers, DeJuan Black being the other backer that's out. So I think from that standpoint, when you look at it like that, when, you know, for so long when you would lose seniors or you would lose starters to the NFL draft and you had that turnover, you're either counting on some backup to now step up and take on that starting role, or you're kind of going with a youth movement and you just know going into it that next year, hey, we're going to be young at this spot and need a freshman or somebody to just kind of grow into it. The transfer portal's changed that. You can literally lose key players and veterans and replace them with guys that can come in and offer immediate help with college experience. And from that standpoint, I think that's something that Florida did successfully in this cycle.
And I think that was really important on the offensive line, because even though I liked the class with Kearney and the other offensive lineman, Najee, they're freshmen. You need to replace the guys you lost with people who are ready to play day one
at that level.
Yeah.
Or close to it, hopefully.
That was really important. And we'll see. I love Micah Mazuka. Got that right?
We saw him the other day.
You ran into him. And then I want to see Keontae Goodwin. Played a little bit, but a 5-star. Massive, an absolutely massive human being. And then Damian George, I'm not sure. But I like Florida's offensive line coming back. And that's funny to say because you lost everyone. But I think
except for one of the guys we're talking to today.
Yeah. But I think huge need filled in the portal with offensive linemen.
And that's your bread and butter, right? We know how much of an emphasis is placed on that from this coaching staff. And I think that was reflected not only in the transfer portal, but what they signed from the high school ranks as well. And look,
right.
I'm touting or emphasizing what the Gators got from the portal, but I think they're at the same time, you got to get elite recruits from the high school level, and that's got to be kind of what you lean on or build your roster with over time in your development plan. So from that standpoint, the 20 guys that they got, Rashada exiting the class made it go from 10 to 11.
To 11.
But if you look at average player rating, the Gators have the number 7th best average player rating in the country. And like the 2 schools that they're behind by like point decimal, whatever. So average player rating and how the industry and all the recruiting services rate these guys, Florida's right there in top 5 range. I don't think they maybe had the numbers to get maybe into certainly top 5 range in terms of just the flat out ranking because they only had 20 signees. But you look at the blue chip ratio at 80%. Obviously, the in-state signees at 70%. There's a lot to like about that. Average distance is 200 miles. And again, the average player ranking, they were number 7. And I think they also ranked number 7 nationally in the amount of 4-stars that they signed. I think there were only 6 schools in the country that signed more 4-stars than the Gators did. So
pulling it up to check you.
Yeah, no, pull it up. Now, I think the number that they signed, there was they were tied with a few other schools for 7th. But only 6 other schools signed more 4-star prospects than the Gators. So they hit needs. They got quality recruits. And I think they got some guys that are going to come in and be difference makers. Even though they're going to rely on a lot of those portal players, I think you're going to see some impact freshmen as well. I think a few of them.
Yeah, I think there's guys that can come in and not start, but come in and play. It'll be interesting to see how wide receiver shakes out. I still don't love that room outside of Ricky Pearsall and Hendo. Can a cornerback jump in? You know, there's a safety. You have no depth, no experience there. And actually, you have a ton of depth because you just signed a ton of defensive backs. But I think Keon Keeley's a guy that can come in and play. Who else? Who else do you have that can come in?
Well, I mean, obviously, you look at what the Gators have up front. I mean, I think on the defensive line, Kelby Collins is definitely a guy that's going to push for playing time. And we'll get into this with the portal needs, but I think that Jordan Castell at 6'2", 190 is what he's listed at. He's probably already pushing 200 like Andy Jean. I think he's a guy that could crack the rotation at safety just because of the need there. Andy Jean is definitely going to be in the mix. To me, he's one of my sleeper picks.
Okay.
I think that guy, look, man, something about those receivers from South Florida, Miami specifically too, man. I think that he's going to come in and definitely be one of the biggest freshman contributors that we see from this class. And it's going to help that he's in for the spring as well. But we mentioned the spring. I think that there's still some spots left that they need to hit. I mentioned replacing guys that they lost with portal players, but there's still some spots. Billy obviously said on Wednesday that the Gators want to go out there and they will be in the market for a quarterback in the spring if a guy passes the evaluation. But they're going to be out looking for somebody just to get to that fourth scholarship quarterback. So that's something to be on the lookout for. Billy didn't want to give the scholarship numbers out, but fortunately we have Nick Del Torre to do that for you all. And I think right now that we could see the Gators maybe land or add somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 more transfers, depending on how the scholarship situation shakes out after spring. If there's any guys that leave the team once practice is over from the Gators. Right. But quarterback to me, and then the obvious one, and I wrote about it in my mailbag, but it's defensive back and specifically safety, or somebody that can play safety nickel, because who are your starting safeties? Who's your starting nickel? Obviously, Kamari Wilson will probably be one of those starting safeties. And then Jadarius Perkins is obviously the leading candidate to start at star. But after that, you have no returning players who have played and have experience at either of those positions except Miguel Mitchell, who appeared in all 13 games last season as a true freshman, and he could play nickel or he could play safety. But if he plays nickel, he's either backing up.
Maybe you see Perkins slide to safety and Mitchell. But like you said, I mean, you have
no matter what, you don't have enough depth, and you don't have enough
Dakota
competition
Mitchell
there.
And then freshman.
Yeah, and you definitely are going to have bodies there. But how many of those freshmen are you going to be able to rely on in the rotation? But even if you keep Perkins at nickel, start Miguel opposite Wilson at safety, which I think could happen. They have no proven backups of guys that have played and have collegiate snaps. The only other guy that's on the roster that's returning is Dakota Mitchell, and he hasn't played in the last 2 years. So everybody else that will be in that room will be brand new, will be wide-eyed true freshmen. Fortunately, they got them here in the spring, but I think they will be in the market for a safety come that May portal window. They just have to be.
Well, those guys are going to get a ton of reps this spring. Yeah. So right into the deep end, into the fire. But yeah, I think that's a spot to hit. Manny Nunnery is a guy, though, that not so much safety, but he kind of played like a rover position. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be an answer at safety for
Creeper.
Yeah. I'm scrolling through right now, scrolling through the safeties that are still in the portal. And I don't know that you're going to go out to get any one of these guys. So, but
maybe someone pops in.
Was it May 1st through 15th, the next 14 days?
Yeah, May 1st through 15th.
And it's going to be after spring practice. So you're going to have a bunch of guys who have gone through camp and either see the writing on the wall or want to go somewhere. I think you're going to get a flurry of activity.
Yeah. And I think at this point, they have a good feel for where they're at as a roster, as a team, where they still need to fill some spots. But like Nick said, spring ball is going to help a lot with that. I mean, maybe some of those freshmen really catch on and make the staff not address a need or a depth that they feel like they were lacking once that portal opens again. But regardless, they're going to be looking for a quarterback, and that was certainly part of the discussion yesterday on signing day. But the law firm of Mertz and Miller is officially upon us, Nick.
Add Brown. It still sounds like a law firm. Mertz, Miller, and Brown.
Oh, I like that. And we'll talk about your convo with Max Brown in the last segment. But right now we're going to jump to this break, and then we're going to come back and talk to a guy that's going to be protecting all 3 of those quarterbacks, and that's Florida Gators offensive lineman Austin Barber. We'll be right back after this break. What's up, Florida fans? Wanted to encourage all of you to go check out rogueshop.com if you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, and or anxiety and stress. Rogue Shop sells CBD, THC, edibles, smokables, and vapes, as well as handcrafted bath salts, soaps, candles, massage oils, pain creams, and topicals. Rogue Shop is a true small business, disabled, veteran-owned, Black-owned, woman-owned company. They have 5 employees and make all of their products with their own cannabis grown in their manufacturing facility. Visit rogueshop.com. That's ROGUESHOP.com. Welcome back into the Gators Online Show. We're now joined by our guest of the week, Florida offensive lineman Austin Barber. Austin, appreciate you joining us this week, man.
Appreciate you having me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Obviously, we got a lot of ground to cover. You guys are in phase one, in the foundation phase right now, getting it in with those workouts. But let's obviously kind of start with this past season. You know, obviously a big year for you. You got in the starting lineup, a lot of experience. Just kind of what was your takeaways from this past year and especially what it meant for you?
I feel like for me, it was just finally what I've been dreaming for, you know, like coming in, not playing my freshman year, then going in playing damn near 700 snaps. It's a big adjustment, but I feel like it just set me up for this year coming up, you know, just a lot of experience, I know how it is now in the SEC in games and stuff. So I just feel like I'm excited.
How were you preparing and ready to step in like you did?
Just sit behind guys that have been playing a while. You know, Richard Garage played 4 or 5 years, started 4 years. Just watching those guys and how they go about it, and just, I feel like I'm decent at football, maybe a little bit, but I think it's just trying to go in there and bust my tail day in and day out.
What were some of the biggest things that you learned from the guys that were ahead of you, especially your redshirt year?
Just how to do it right. You know, there's just extra work after practice, eating right, you know, training room. Big thing was training room. Just keep your body as healthy as possible. That's what I learned the most.
We talked to you during the season, and you were talking about like a 6-pack, maybe a 4-pack.
I'm working on an 8-pack right now.
Let's go.
Turn me up.
Let's go.
Turn me up.
Athletes on the line.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you know, you guys are going through a foundation right now. We'll kind of get into that, but you made your first career start against South Florida. Austin, take me back to that week, that game. When did you know that you were getting the nod? What was your kind of emotions like going into that, and how did it feel kind of trotting out there for that first series?
So I knew I was getting it in the Kentucky game because obviously Michael got hurt. He tried to come back in. He couldn't put pressure on that ankle. I was like, oh, shit, here it goes. But that week of practice it was kind of scary a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Just you're in there with a starting role the whole time. Just you're the guy. I mean, I just felt like, I guess I put myself in that position to be ready, and I felt confident.
That's awesome.
Did you have a moment where you were like, yeah, I can do this. I belong here?
Yeah, it was in the Kentucky game. We ran outside zone play, me and Sabo, and just dominated the 4-eye and the linebacker. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be real fun.
That's awesome, man. And then obviously you guys go through the season. The offensive line was one of the best position groups that we saw from the Gators this past year. What was it like just being a part of that unit, getting to start on it, and then playing alongside the guys that you did?
I think it was phenomenal. You know, a bunch of those guys aren't here anymore, and I feel like it's just there's a bond that will never be broken with those guys, and just feels good to know that maybe the whole team didn't have the best season, but O-line, like the main part of like the team the position that keeps the team together was playing the best, and that's what felt great for me.
How much pride did you take in that, and what do you feel like were some of the successes that you enjoyed the most, whether it was the run game that you guys got going with Montrell and Trevor, or obviously some of the plays that Anthony made?
Man, you know, I take a lot of pride in this. You know, this is what I do. I live in the trenches, and you know, just there's some games that we ran for over 200 yards. It's just like we know we were dominating the people in front of us. One game I'll say is South Carolina. We absolutely just mauled them boys up front.
Was there a couple moments in that game where hands on hips, or you saw you guys had basically just defeated them?
It was first quarter, like when first or second quarter they weren't ready for it.
You've got a mean streak. Like you seem like a nice kid talking to us right now, but on the field you've got bad intentions, I think.
Yeah, I can turn it off and on.
That's awesome, man. And obviously that's what they're looking for in this program. We know the premium that Coach Napier and this staff puts on the offensive line. For you, what's it like to play in an offense like this that definitely values that position and definitely tries to kind of build the scheme around it?
I think it's just great for just us, because at the end of the day, if the O line's not liking the plays or not feeling good about it, how are we gonna start the game off? You know what I mean? And I'm just happy that he puts all of his trust into us and our decision. You know what I mean? Like on the field and stuff like that. It's just phenomenal knowing a guy that just loves the O-line.
Definitely. And then for your position coaches, obviously a different setup this past season with two guys. What do you feel like that did for the room? You guys already had a really good offensive line in 2021. I feel like it got even better this past season.
I think it's just having two different, voices, because they say the same thing, but like it comes off a little bit different. You got like the yin and the yang, you know what I mean? It's just some people, prefer to hear from one guy. Some people prefer to hear to one guy. I feel like that's how it like all comes in together faster.
Which one do you prefer? Who's your favorite? They're not going to listen. It's fine.
I can't say it. They're both my favorite.
Somebody will tag them on Twitter with the quickness, Nick.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Someone will snitch.
What do you feel like either one or both of those guys have they kind of helped bring the best out of you, and what were maybe some things either just in your preparation or just certainly some of the ways that they've developed you that you feel like helped you take the next step this year?
Just being in my ear 24/7, kind of trying to be like an older veteran guy when I'm still like a redshirt freshman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were texting me day in and day out, getting the film room during spring ball when they first got here. Get in the film room, watch film, go through all the stuff so you can be prepared. And then when fall camp hit, it just clicked, and they saw it click, and they just kept helping me put all my pieces together, and we're still putting them together now. But I think we did a good job last year.
Now, on that note, what are some things that they've kind of highlighted for you that they want you to see you work on this offseason and just kind of take your game to the next level?
Just some footwork stuff there. I have some issues with some things in the outside zone game that I got to fix, and then just being in the pass game, just being more upright, don't lean and stuff like that. Just simple stuff like that. It's not hard to fix.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're muted, Nick.
You guys have 27 new scholarship players on campus. What has that been like? That's like a quarter of the team.
Yeah, it's trying to learn everybody's names is hard, just because you see a different new face every day. But I know I'm happy for those guys to be here and just come into the program, because I know they're all the right guys. I mean, I feel like we brought in a group of guys that just want to work and want to win and want to be there. So that's all I want to. That's what I want to play with.
Well, Billy does that. Know your teammate, right?
Yep.
You have to where they're from, city, state, and name. That's a little harder this spring, though.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot harder. I need to study that sheet. He's gonna give us. Sheet.
Now, one of those guys that you got to know this past year was Osiris Torrance. Yep. We'll kind of hit on all the guys that moved on, but specifically Cybo, from your perspective, what was it like playing with that guy? Why was he so elite? And just seeing him earn that brick, what did that do for you? Maybe
he made me look good in a bunch of plays we ran. Just playing next to him, I'm telling you, he's been in the offense for 4 years. Just knows exactly what to do. I mean, it's just crazy how he came here from UL and still did the same exact thing. I wouldn't expect a lot of guys to do that, but he was a guy that I seen for spring ball. I was like, yeah, he can play with the best of them.
And then obviously you guys also lose Michael and Ethan. So, you and Kingsley are only starters coming back.
Yeah.
Obviously, in most years, like pre-transfer portal, you lose that many starters from the offensive line, you're kind of like rebuilding.
Yeah.
You might have to rely on some like younger players to step up. You guys basically just reloaded in the portal, bringing in all these transfers. What's the feel like just in the O-line room about that turnover that's happened, but also where you guys are at, and certainly with you and Kingsley leading that charge?
I feel like, I think we brought in the right group of guys, brought in just guys that have been playing that know, that's been on the field, been playing and stuff like that. So it's like we're not trying to throw some guys out there that have never touched the field, you know what I mean? And that's what gives us, me and Kingsley, the confidence, just to know that we have guys to play next to that are really good.
No doubt.
How well have you gotten to know them? Anything about them personally, their game?
Just, I watch him work, Micah. Me and him are pretty cool. He was the first guy that I met. Me and him hang out sometimes, but he's a hard worker. We do a bunch of football stuff after our runs and stuff, and he's a hard worker. And then Damien, he's a good guy. We just go in there and work. I mean, all of us, me, him, Keontae, and Micah, we all try to put some work on the field, just because they're trying to learn the offense now. So it's just they're learning right now.
And then during the portal process, like how involved or in tune are you with what's going on? Like, do they ask you to talk to any of those guys? And are you like, yo, man, I need you, like we're losing some starters, or do they land those guys and you get to know them after the fact?
Know the few guys that, I knew Micah on his, I guess he was on his official here.
Yeah.
And I hosted John Campbell. That's the only portal guy that I hosted, but it's kind of cool just seeing guys that have played. Like John Campbell played 3 years at Miami, and then Micah played, I guess, 2 years at Baylor. It's just cool to see some different guys that are not like on the team already that's been playing in the NCAA.
No doubt. And then we're wrapping things up here with Austin Barber, Florida Gators offensive lineman. We spoke with Billy yesterday, Austin. He said it's a lot of fun to come to work right now for him and the staff, just because of what's going on with the foundation phase and all the kind of new blood in the on the team, so to speak. One thing I think is interesting about the makeup of the team now is like everybody that's here like wants to be here. Like, last year it was a brand new staff. You guys are getting to know them, not necessarily sure if it's the right fit. You're trying to build trust. And then obviously this past year, a lot of guys decided to move on. Yeah. Now you're like starting a new chapter, and everybody that's on the team, whether they're returning or whether they just joined, like they want to be here. They committed to these coaches. Can you feel the difference in that, or how much of a difference do you think that can make because there's that level of buy-in?
No, I feel the difference just every day when our runs and our lifts, they go after. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that slack off. I mean, if they do, it's because something's going on, like they're hurt or something like that. Sure. But those guys want to win. Those guys want to, they came here for this staff, and I feel like they want to win a championship, and I'm excited for it because, I stayed. I love the staff as well, and I want to win.
Is foundation easier this year?
The lifts are harder, but the runs are more tuned for the big guys.
How was going through that phase in the new Heavener Center different, or how does that just make things more efficient for you guys?
It's the easiest thing ever. Instead of walking the mile, I guess I consider it a mile because I'm a big guy, but walking the mile from the stadium to the practice field, it's literally like park my scooter, walk in, get some food in there, go to the locker room, and the weight room gone. 2 seconds. It's just so efficient. We just get in and out.
That's awesome.
I don't think I would make it out of my locker. I would just like recline that zero gravity chair and I'm out.
That's
knocked out.
There was early morning lifts. I sat in there one time. I was like, do I really want to lift today?
Pretty comfortable here.
Oh yeah.
How often are guys just knocked out in their lockers?
You can see about half the team in there with their Normatec boots on, towel on their head so they don't see the light, knocked out. It's the funniest thing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And final few things for you, Austin. New guy that recently joined the team that pretty well from Duval, and that's Trayon Webb. What do you feel like Florida fans can expect from him, and what's it like just to see him joining the team?
I'm excited for Webb. I mean, me and him been playing together since I was a junior, he was a freshman, and just I got to know Webb at a personal level. I mean, I feel like he's my little son. I used to drive him around before he had a car in old Jacksonville, but I'm excited for him. He's a hard worker. He wants to be here. He wants to win. I mean, you see the film that he's put on in high school. I mean, I feel like he'll do the same thing. He's big, fast. I mean, can run people over, can juke people out. I'm just excited for him.
Talk about those car rides. Are you like picking them up for practice or helping them out?
I mean, taking him home sometimes. Going to take him to get food from the school. Just being like a little Uber for him.
Did you have any idea back then that this guy was going to turn into a top recruit and be a Florida caliber player?
Oh yeah, I mean you can see it every day. I mean, he came into practice, did what he had to do, just looked good. I mean, and then you can see on the film. My freshman year or his freshman year, I guess he got injured in the game, but he was taking a kickoff to the 1 yard line. And that's when he got hurt. But dude's a beast.
How involved were you in his recruiting process? Were you on him at all a lot, or do you feel like he was going to be a Gator?
No, we got lucky. I think we got lucky. I mean, I don't think every time I talked to him, he had no interest, with the old staff, but new staff came in and ate him up, and I was there in his ear every time I went home.
That's awesome. I think Nick gave him the title of recruiter of the class.
He got after it.
He easily recruited half those guys in that class too.
His tweets are incredible. He might have one of the best Twitter accounts on the team.
No doubt. He knows what he's doing.
Well, obviously, Austin, to wrap up, you guys, now turn the page on 2023. You got your spring game set. You got a state date for practices to start. Where are you at just, confidence-wise in this team? Obviously, a lot of new pieces on offense. Like, what can fans expect from you guys in 2023 and what you guys are coming with?
I think we got a chip on our shoulder this year, like people are always putting us down every week, but we're going to be sneaky good. I think we're going to be a dark horse in a lot of categories, and I'm excited for this team. I'm excited for what we do. I mean, I'm ready to put the ball down in spring ball and see them boys work. I'm ready to get after it with them.
There's a lot of circle teams, a little revenge tour.
Oh yeah, we lost a good bit. We lost a good bit of teams this year, so there's a lot of teams I want to beat.
Final thing on some of the new pieces, Austin. What's just been your early impressions of Graham Mertz and that quarterback battle that's going to play out with him and Jack?
Oh yeah, he's a hard worker. I mean, me and him chop it up all the time. Me and him are boys. It's pretty cool. Like he came in and me and him started becoming buddies, just doing stuff outside of football. But he works hard. He does everything right, and I think him and Jack are going to battle it out and just give us it's going to be a show, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a lot harder than people think.
And then you mentioned out of football before we let you go. I know you're busy right now between workouts. You're taking 5 classes, but it is the off season. When you do get some downtime, what is Austin Barber doing with his free time?
I'm either golfing or just playing video games. I'm a big fan of golf. I'm not very good at it, but I love to swing the club a little bit.
What's your best score?
I shot a 90 in Tennessee.
All right.
Not bad.
Not bad.
I'll take it.
I think Sale will get out there on the golf course with you.
Well, I know he's good. I went out there one time at the team course, and one of the workers goes, "Yeah, he comes out here and shoots under 80 every day." He's like, he's the best UAA golfer that they have right now.
Rob Sale is?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
Don't tell him that. He's just gonna boost his head.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even want to ask him to play. I don't even want to ask him to play.
Well, he's gonna ask you to play. There's no doubt about that. And listen, man, we're looking forward to you playing more for the Gators this coming year. Best of luck certainly with your spring semester, but also with the fall as well. Appreciate the time, man, and we'll see you once these practices get started up.
No doubt. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Thanks, Austin.
No doubt. Welcome back into the Gators Online Show. Appreciate Austin for joining us in the last segment. Now we're going to switch gears and talk some Florida hoops as the Gators got a signature win under first-year coach Todd Golden on Wednesday night in the O-Dome. They take down number 2 Tennessee 67-54. It was a game of runs, and it was a game where Colin Castleton showed why he's all SEC and probably will be once again this season. He just dominated, took over down the stretch, and I mean, this was huge for the Gators. I mean,
right.
Not only you're getting a top 5 win, but you just think about what it meant for their tourney chances. The fact that they've had some other opponents that were ranked in the top 5 weren't able to get the job done. They got another one coming up against Alabama, but they'd won 5 of their last 6 and kind of found their groove in conference play, and then they step out of SEC play, go into the SEC Big 12 Challenge at Kansas State. This emotional game with Keontae Johnson, all that went into it. They aren't able to get the dub, and just to be able to come back and not have that shoot their confidence. They just came out of the gate with an incredible start, 17-4. They took the lead, and just really impressive to see where this team has grown under Golden, especially during conference play. And I think everybody's been focused and fixated on the offense and it coming together, and certainly the Gators finding their shot, which they once again did Wednesday. But, man, defensively, night in and night out, ever since they started playing in conference, this team has just brought it. And once again, they were superior on that end against Tennessee.
And that's important. Like some nights your shot's just not going to fall, but you can control effort and you can control how you play defense. I did want we were talking about it a little bit earlier. How big, what did Colin Castleton say this game meant to him and to the team? Beating Tennessee specifically 1 year after Jason Jatobo's injury.
Yeah, I asked Colin after the game where this one ranked, because obviously he's been a part of some wins. He had a little bit of time at Michigan as well, was a part of some big-time matchups. But he said this is by far the best win he's ever been a part of in his college career. And mind you, he was with the Gators last year when they beat number 2 Auburn in the O-Dome, and like 200 fans rushed the court. So he's been part of an upsets before, but as he said to me post-game, this one meant a little bit more to him and his teammates and to this coaching staff because of Jason Jatobo. This was the rivalry that he got injured in almost a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago, in Knoxville with the eye, and he spent, so much time rehabbing that, all the surgeries and procedures that he had to go through. It was a really, really grueling process just to be able to see again, play basketball again, get his vision back, and it's just been kind of an incredible story, and it kind of culminated in this this matchup against Tennessee kind of a year later. And obviously he got to partake in it. And but this one was for Jason. Really cool moment with him and one of the assistant coaches after the game, just kind of embracing. And that's why Colin said this one meant the most. And I think that Florida now getting this win, definitely a huge boost for their tourney chances. And more importantly, they've now gotten over the hump. They've gotten some wins. They've found some success. But now they know that they're capable of beating one of the nation's best teams. And they've gotten some opportunities against UConn, and Kansas State weren't able to get it done. Now they've done it, and they're going to have some more opportunities here coming up.
And you need to have that success, because you can have the mentality of, yeah, we can beat anyone any given night. But if you keep coming up short against those elite top-tier teams, you don't have a proof of concept. You've got that against Tennessee, and this is a tough stretch. At Kentucky, at Bama, Vandy, tough stretch for them. You start it with a win, with some confidence, and see if they can keep it rolling.
Yeah, and this is quite an impressive, or should I say, daunting schedule that the Gators have coming up. They just now, with these last 2 games, they faced back-to-back top 2 teams for the first time in 55 years. So it's been quite a while since the Gators have had a stretch like this. And then, you think about what they have coming up with number 4 Alabama. Now, in most years, Nick, Kentucky would be another top 5 team that the Gators would have to face. But I think
not this year.
Not this year. This is only Florida's 6th all-time victory against a top 2 opponent. And last year was the highest ranked victory that they had on their home floor, so they matched that. Although the 13-point win is the largest margin of victory the Gators have ever had against a top 2 opponent. So some history was made for Golden, and he gets his 2nd win against a top 5 team as a head coach. When he was at San Francisco, he got a 61-60 neutral site dub over number 4 Virginia in 2020. So
look at that.
This is he's done it before. He does it again.
Research.
Yeah. Well, no, shout out to Denver Parlor. This is I'm literally reading his email. Florida's SID, and we mentioned the defense again. I think it's definitely worth noting and shouting out that they held Tennessee to a season low 54 points on 29.9% from the floor. They were 19 of 68 shooting. And the Gators, they've held 12 of their last 13 opponents to under 40% from the field. So like I said, I mean, they've really flipped the switch here, especially in SEC play. And they just got to keep it rolling now. I mean, they've got the confidence now. I think they've figured out some things offensively. We know the difference that Myron Jones and Kyle Lofton and kind of their veteran leadership being 5th-year guards. And now you got Alex Fudge. He's working his way back from injury too. Riley Kugel has really stepped up in the last couple of games with him being out. So things are clicking right now for Todd Golden's squad. They got that golden ball working.
They've won 6 of the last 7 conference games. 6
of the last 7. So that's what you need. Now they've improved their record to 13-9, 6-3 in SEC play, and they've got the stretch coming up that we mentioned against Kentucky and Alabama. And then after that, they're really going to have a chance to, I think, get to 19, 20 wins. That's probably where they're going to be to safely get it in for March Madness. So we'll see where they go from here, Nick. But this is definitely the biggest win of the Golden era, and definitely bodes well for the future.
And he was enjoying it. Still time left on the clock, turns around, getting the crowd pumped. Felt good for him to watch him get that win. Some of the videos they put out, they were going nuts back there in the locker room. You just got to keep the momentum, though. Like, don't lay an egg against a down Kentucky team. But it seems like you said, it seems like they've found some things, especially offensively, and continue to be suffocating on defense.
Now, I want you to go check this out from our friend Jacob Brudner, Nick. This video of, if you go to Twitter and check out this clip, Golden just absolutely gets tossed across the locker room during this post-game celebration. I don't know if you would call that a block or a charge, Nick.
I think it's a flagrant too.
I don't even know who knocked him down. I mean,
I'm trying to figure that out. He got ragdolled.
He's
just ragdolled.
I mean, it's a party in there. There's no doubt about that. I think what you would call that would be the Rocky Flop, right?
No, that looks like assault. I think that's what it looked like.
You might have thought LeBron James got assaulted with that foul that he took the other night. Did you see that reaction from the King?
Don't talk about my GOAT like that.
I mean, and then Patrick Beverly with the all-time camera in the face of the referee. You see this photo? That was epic. So congrats to Golden and the Gators for definitely a big win, and certainly going to help their chances come March. So, and obviously once March gets around, Nick, you will be in full baseball swing, my friend.
Full baseball. Max Brown playing baseball.
He will not be in full baseball swing.
Not be in full baseball. I think it's pretty clear that, especially with the Gators quarterback room that we talked about in those numbers, that Max is here on a football scholarship, and when spring starts, he's not going to miss a practice, and we'll see how much he's playing with the baseball team. But they're in it. They're full in scrimmage, getting ready for the season, and they look good. They look really good. I'm still not overhyping the baseball team. We're still keeping that going. But I'm excited. In February, excited. We're 15 days away. But I know that in late March, I'll be exhausted.
15 days, Nick?
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Where did your off season go?
We don't talk about Jaden Rashada anymore, but that's where it went.
It went to Arizona State.
Yeah. Congrats to him.
Yeah. He ends up at his father's alma mater. You know, you said last week and in your piece there were no winners in the Jaden Rashada.
His dad,
Arizona State won.
That's true. New coach. They get a quarterback. Yeah, I think I'm just done talking about it.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more baseball before we get you out of here. What have been your early impressions of this team, without hyping them up, from what you've seen since the start of camp?
I think they're just really, really deep. I haven't even seen all the pitchers yet from the scrimmages I've been out to. They can hit. I think Wyatt Langford looks just like he did last year. Possible Golden Spikes, which is the best player in the country. He'll be on like that preseason watch list. The pitchers, only thing I've seen is a little not accurate. Hurston Waldrop had Brandon Sproat hit 3 guys the last scrimmage I was at. Hurston Waldrop's had some control issues, but it's still a little bit early. Guys are still rounding into form. I'm interested to see who closes. Cleet Hartzog, that's a name, is kind of leading that right now. He had a meltdown inning last weekend. I like Jack Caglione to do that. He throws 97 miles an hour, 6'4", left-handed. And then if you close him, then you can also use him pitching and hitting in the same game. So I think that's something interesting. And Mikey Robertson, I was trying to explain to people how fast he is, and I used Buddy Reed, who was a great center fielder, and I think he was 0.3 of a second faster than Buddy Reed in the 60. So that's going to be your center fielder, your leadoff guy. Yeah, Florida's really good. I'm excited for the season, and don't book your tickets to Omaha. We're not saying that yet, Zach, but they should be good and it should be fun.
That's awesome. Well, what else should be fun is what we got coming up this weekend, and certainly in the weeks to come. You've got the Super Bowl now right around the corner. The Gators will be represented for the 21st year in a row, and for the 12th time, I think it will be in the last 14 seasons, a Gator will win a ring. So the tradition continues, Nick.
I was going to say who you got, but we got another show before that.
Yeah, we do have another show, so I won't make a pick yet. But we'll see. There's going to be multiple Gators that win. How about shout out to LaMichael P. Ryan, who got signed to Kansas City's practice squad the day before they won the championship. And
I think you get the same ring.
Yes, you get the same ring. And he tweeted, "Things always work in your favor when you least expect it. Stay positive and always believe in yourself."
That's wild.
And LaMichael P. Ryan did. They told him he was not fast enough at Auburn, and he showed them, didn't he, Nick?
In a big, bold way.
Yes. Also, what was big and bold is the shoot that DJ Lagway received on his unofficial visit this past weekend for Junior Day, and something that the University of Florida now has to tout that no other program in the country has, Nick.
Yeah, I'm pulling that story up now.
And I was unsure of how to pronounce it. I didn't know if it was a fancy, with that symbol on there, but it's just View, and it's a nice
just view. 20 feet by 13 feet. Only school in the country, to my knowledge, that has it. Just something really cool that not only changes the recruiting game, but they just released something where I think softball, lacrosse, and baseball were using it. It's just something that stands out, and you're not getting the ripped white paper in the locker room anymore. It's just a really, really unique thing. And is it necessary? No, but it's something you can say, hey, this is really cool. When the photos dropped, when Lagway dropped those photos,
Whew.
the timeline stopped. So it's something that's really cool. And I think we need to get in it. I think it's in the indoor practice facility. I think we need to get you.
I've already put in a request.
Request denied.
It might be. It might be.
It might be.
But definitely kudos to UF for. And look, this is not just a football and a football recruiting tool. All the sports are getting to use this technology and do some really cool creative media with it. But it is another thing now that you have to offer during those shoots on the recruiting visits, and not everybody, or actually nobody else, can offer that.
Yeah.
So really cool. And couple other news items that we want to wrap the show up with. It's a few days old now, but the Gators have hired former Auburn OC Eric. You want to give a stab at that last name, Nick?
All you.
I saw. We'll go with that, Eric.
Coach
but,
E.
He's already. What was that?
I said Coach E.
Coach E. EK.
Yeah.
He's already on campus. He hasn't been officially announced yet, but he has joined the staff in an analyst role, and was former offensive coordinator at Auburn and Boise State. Obviously worked with Brian Harsin, but he's been the offensive coordinator at several other stops as well. Fresno State, Washington, Colorado. He was the interim coach at Fresno State as well, and also called plays at Kansas on an interim basis. So a guy that's called a lot of ball plays, and he's another eye on your product, and kind of brings definitely some different offensive philosophies and just some more brain power to that room.
Someone to bounce ideas off of, a fresh perspective on the offense as well.
Yep. And if they ever need some other offensive ideas, Nick, they can go right down the hall and ask the head ball coach. And definitely want to give a shout out to Steve Spurrier as our old spot where we used to record this very show. There will be a street named after him in Celebration Point, as Steve Spurrier Way is coming to Gainesville, officially going to be unveiled on February 10th in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. So go check out that story on Gators Online to get the details on that. But fans are invited to come out, and a long time coming, Nick. That was happening for that to happen in Gainesville.
Yeah, I was trying to brainstorm other names that it could have been. Someone said Citrus Bowl Lane. I was trying to think of some other names other than Steve Spurrier. He's got his name on all the things.
Free Shoes University Ave.
Something like that.
But shout out to the HBC, and shout out to the former Gators that'll be competing this weekend, and actually on Thursday night, as well as the East-West Shrine Bowl and the Reese Senior Bowl will both be taking place. You've got some Gators participating in both of those games, Justin Shorter and Trey Dean in the East-West Shrine Bowl, and then Osiris Torrance and Richard Garage playing in the Senior Bowl. Actually, a few guys playing in the Senior Bowl. So the Senior Bowl will be on Saturday at 2:30. So make sure you guys check that out. And props to Sale and Stapleton as well. They went out there and supported their guys competing out there at the Reese Senior Bowl. So,
and Torrance is having the week that you probably expected him to have. I think
yes, he is
solidifying himself as OG1, the best guard in the draft.
He is. And we talked to his teammate today. Appreciate Austin Barber for joining us, and a lot that we touched on. Signing day is in the books now. The Gators have gotten a huge marquee win, and now they move forward, and Knicks gets closer to the start of baseball season. We'll be back next week to recap it all with you guys as things progress closer, and certainly we'll give our Super Bowl pick as well. So for Nick Del Torre, I'm Zach Albaverdi.